Howdy, folks. We're back on another exciting edition of DEADPIT Reviews a Bunch of Shit. So this time, we're going to kick it off with a review
Carpenter
of a film that is widely underrated, vastly overlooked.
Not too many people like it.
But oddly enough,
I love it. I want some more of it.
it is a cult classic. Most people do agree it's one of the better films that he did. Which is John Carpenter's film, Stephen King's adaptation, Christine.
Yeah.
It's a killer car film.
It is. You know, this was one of those movies that, one of the early movies that I watched on VHS back when it came out, probably in the mid-'80s on VHS. And I always loved the movie. Like, it kind of freaked me out. You know, the choking scene where the girl's choking on the hamburger. And that was the one scene that I always remembered as a kid and always kind of scared the shit out of me. But Carpenter himself, we interviewed Carpenter a few years ago on the show. He's not really a big fan of this movie. I think that this was a film that he was pretty much director for hire on when this came out in 1983, I think when it came out. And it's just not one of the movies that he likes. You know, from what I gathered when we interviewed him about the movie, he didn't really have a whole lot to say about the movie. But I don't know why, because I think that this is a great film, a great adaptation of the Stephen King novel, and just a whole lot of fun. You got Keith Gordon. The whole story is he plays Arnold Cunningham or whatever in the movie, a dork, a nerd, and you know, he's looking for a vehicle, and he and his friend, played by John Stockwell, I can't remember John Stockwell's name in the movie, but they're driving by this junkyard and he sees this old piece of shit. You know, it's this old, what is it, 59 Plymouth Fury, right? 58, I think, yeah. 58 Plymouth Fury. And, you know, this old scummy motherfucker, the old, you know, bastard from Home Alone. What did they call him in Home Alone? He was like the, I don't know. They said he was a murderer or something.
Some sort of serial killer or something.
But yeah, he runs the junkyard and he offers him some, you know, crazy price, overpriced for the deal. And Arnie's like, "Yeah, I'll buy it. I'll cut you a check right now." So over the span of the movie, Arnie gets obsessed with this car, and the car kind of has like control over him. And it changes his character, and I think Keith Gordon did an amazing job in this movie, an acting job. A lot of people don't really look at acting in horror films that much, but I think that he always, you know, ever since I was a kid, I thought he did a really good, and his character towards the end of the movie was a really scary, dark character too.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And Keith Gordon is not widely recognized or regarded for his acting or anything like that. He's not been in that many films that I can.
He was in Legend of Billie Jean.
He was also in Back to School. He played Rodney Dangerfield's son. But yeah, this movie it really is a good showcase for him because he's supposed to be a creepy, nerdy, loner kind of character, and he does that very, very well in it. He almost reminds you like a Robert Carradine type of character or something, you know, like the nerdy kid like that. Yeah, and you talked about earlier on, though, this is the film that the story behind this film is pretty widely accepted. Like, Carpenter made The Thing prior to making this film. The Thing bombed, and he was like reeling, trying to find like a studio movie to do, and they came up with like the Stephen King movie because it was a sure bet. Like, it was going to be a fucking hit one way or the other because it was anything Stephen King touched around that time was going to be a hit. So he kind of took it in a way to save his reputation, his career, and I don't think he looks very highly on that film. Like, from what he was saying now, like, it was just a way, like a paycheck, and a way for him to continue making movies for a studio.
Well, if you really think about it too, unless you're a hardcore horror fan, a lot of people consider Christine a John Carpenter movie. Did you ever think of that? I mean, like when we first started getting in, you're like, "Oh, John Carpenter directed that." It doesn't really seem or work much like a Carpenter movie. The music is the only thing. Like, there's some, I think he did the music in this too, in this movie. But regardless, I enjoyed the film. I do think it's a classic. I think it's a horror classic, and I'm glad that Twilight Time recently released this on Blu-ray.
Okay, it's on Blu-ray.
Yeah, which I haven't opened, by the way. I'm probably gonna sell it. I love the movie, but fuck, I love money more.
He does.
But Christine is one of those films that I revisit every once in a while. Yeah, I think, like I said, I would consider it a classic horror film. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it is a classic. I mean, the thing I really think about, though, is you look at all those Stephen King films from that era of time. They're all classics. Cujo, you got Silver Bullets, you got Christine, you got... I mean, he was just he was turning out shit like one thing after the other was a classic film. They're all unique and like they all stand out in your mind. I don't know how much of it is because of Carpenter or how much of it was because that motherfucker was on a roll at that period of time. Like Stephen King, the stuff he was writing and the stuff they were making films out of, it was all, in my opinion, amazing. Like throughout that whole time period.
Yeah. So, you know, everybody that's watching this, you should have seen Christine by now.
You probably have.
Hopefully you have. I love the movie. I think it's a great movie. The car is awesome in it. I think the cast was really good. You know, they did a really good job with the cast.
Well, one of the people in the cast that we didn't mention, it's actually like one of the driving force behind the film that we really like is the Buddy Repperton character.
Oh yeah, the bully.
Yeah,
Pulls the switchblade.
Yeah, he's the classic, kind of a 50s-esque bully. Well, like a greaser kind of bully.
Yeah, like you would think, like, you know, if you're the cars from the 50s, and a lot of the characters kind of dress like they're from the 50s.
But it's not supposed to be in the 50s, is it? No, I don't think.
No, it's set modern time at that point in the early 80s, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's Christine. I hope everybody checks it out if you haven't checked it out. If you want to get the Blu-ray, you might have to pay a little bit of money for it, but it's out there. It's frequent on eBay. There's no doubt about that.
You'll be paying upwards of about $100 for it, though.
Probably close to that. That's what I sold a couple of mine for already.
Woo! Woo! Woo!
Anyway, Creepy Kentuckian.
Uncle Bill.
DEADPIT.
.com.